It would be really good to hear from you, I think, both what LAT gives you for your school, but also what it gives you as a professional, especially as a professional. This is your first headship, although that's
right.
hard to believe.
So I think if I start with the transition to LAT, when I joined, I was so well supported, and that started well beyond my first day in the building. The team that are responsible for colleague services kept in regular contact with me. I had information on what I needed to complete in terms of statutory duties before I entered the building. And when I joined, I was made to feel part of the LAT family from day one. And that support came through leadership support, it came through colleague services, it came through business partners. So the model that LAT operates under, with business partners allocated to your school for individual concerns, it could be recruitment, it could be contract advice, it could be legal advice, all of that package, that just complements the systems that are already set up in the school. So as a new head teacher coming into the trust, I found that really reassuring.
So as a new head teacher, what was your biggest fear about your new job?
I think it's managing everything and wearing lots and lots of different hats. In my previous roles, I'd been responsible for quality of education, but I'd also, prior to that, been responsible for the pastoral side of things, DSL, safeguarding. And I think when you ultimately are the person that's responsible for all of those things, you take on a lot more in a first headship. So having colleagues as part of the trust and the wider network of support that can take a load of those things, that can, make sure that your compliance checks are up to date. You've got your site support and the team that surrounds your procurement and contracts. It's just such a relief, and you can focus on the children.
Fabulous, thank you. You're a secondary school, and of course at the moment that is largely primary. So tell me a bit about what benefits there are in LAT for a secondary school.
I think that's a really interesting question, because it plays to our strengths, actually. When you consider the curriculum journey that the children have been on through Key Stage 2, particularly with our feeder schools, you've got access to that information, and you really know and understand what those children have learnt before they come to you, and that allows you to identify in your Key Stage 3 curriculum anything that might need additional time, additional resource, and you can really build on their knowledge coming through. And equally, what that means for William Lovell is that we have brilliant partnerships with our feeder schools, and some are LAT and some are not LAT.
Yeah.
But actually, the ability of the SENCO to go out and lead that transition alongside the aspirational leaders means that the children that then come to us are well supported, they understand the systems, the staff are really familiar. And I think probably the most important thing to recognise is the training offer that the LAT provides. So it doesn't matter if a colleague is a TA or a head teacher, there is a bespoke training offer led by experts through the education team to make sure that they've got what they need to do their job really successfully.
So the central education team, do they meet your needs as a secondary school?
Yes, I think there's a lot of diverse skill there, and the leadership of that team has been really well managed, because certain members of staff have been deployed to the school as we've needed, for example, recruitment support or teaching and learning support, and they've been able to carry out that piece of work. But then I think their breadth of knowledge, the four of those colleagues, their breadth of knowledge is just incredible, and there's always somebody at the end of the phone if you need to consult on something. And one example is our maths curriculum. We've revolutionised our maths curriculum at William Lovell, and that's a really exciting piece of work that one of the EDAs then supported the quality assurance, and that's been externally verified now, and we've got some really positive feedback on those developments there, and that's born from partnership working.
Yeah. So on the EDAs, we've got Jenny who's maths, and Vic who's pupil premium, and Chris who's SEND, and then we've got Rachel now who's secondary leadership. So have you had contact with all of those EDAs?
Yeah, so 2 of them are very new. So I've had contact with 3 of them so far, and I'm looking forward to working with Chris in the future. But another example of this is the support through Vicky and the pupil premium package that she offers. It's not just the training to ensure that pupil premium strategy is compliant, up-to-date, well-resourced, but it's also the ongoing support that comes with checking and verifying if those strategies are really effective for our children.
Are there things that William Lovell has now that it would not have been able to access if it had been a standalone academy, or if it had been still within the local education sector?
Certainly. So one example of this is that we are a growing school, and the ability I've had to staff my school appropriately with experts in every single subject area, even though the numbers haven't quite caught up yet because of the lag funding, has been, we couldn't have done it without the support of the trust, because we've been in slight deficit, and we've had to make sure that with our growing numbers we catch up with that over time. So what that means is that we have a fully staffed maths department with experts, a fully staffed English department with experts, and so on.
Yeah, brilliant. And a brand new car park?
Yes, and you know, this is another benefit of being part of a wider organisation like LAT. So when I joined the school, one of the first things that was on my desk was some renovations, and you know, a new lab for the science department, a new car park for the staff area, a new social area for the students, and we took those plans and we really refined them to make sure that the school had exactly what it needed. So because we are growing, we've got a segregated car park now, we've got a bus turning circle, we've got 2 social areas for the students, and the students design that and they develop that through the work of Julian and the estates team. So yeah, you know, we're really, really grateful to have that support and that expertise, because actually that would have taken, as a new head, me a lot of time to get my head around.
Yeah. I was in the school yesterday. What fabulous students you've got. So we've talked about yourself professionally, we've touched on staff and what it gives, we've talked about estates. What difference has it made for your pupils?
It's about access, and it's about opportunities for them. So when you're part of a bigger organisation, you've got lots of eyes to check and to make sure and to verify. And what that means is through things like the pupil premium strategy, through the SEND additional support, through the TA training, there are lots and lots of layers that are solely focused on the progress of those children in my building. And it makes you so incredibly proud to know that everybody at LAT cares about them. Everybody is responsible for them. And it's not just you as the head teacher of the school. You know, we take that responsibility very seriously to lead our schools, but the opportunity that we have to network, to collaborate, to verify, and sometimes just to sense check with a bigger and experienced team is really, really valuable.
Brilliant. Thank you. OK, so it's all going well, and we've seen that. What next for you and for William Lovell?
We've got some priorities with recruitment as we grow, and the support I've got from the team in central services with regard to the adverts and the process, and the collection of things like references and making sure that we are completely set up and we've got the infrastructure that we need to get the right people in the building it's been invaluable, really, and that's been such a help. Yeah.
Tell me a bit about the digital strategy.
Yes, so this is really exciting.
It's very exciting.
So William Lovell is one of the 2 pilot schools as part of the LAT's digital strategy. So what that means is in November this academic year, we rolled out one-to-one digital devices for every single student. And what that means is that we've put opportunity in their hands, and teaching and learning has developed because of that. But equally, assessment for learning and the accessibility of homework has developed because of that. And one of the fantastic byproducts of allowing every single child to have that digital resource is an increase in organisational skills. They know where they need to be, they know if there's tweaks, if there's changes, and all of that information is at their fingertips. So in terms of the curriculum and access, it's brilliant because all of the resources are in one place for them. They can annotate, they can use those resources. Children with special educational needs can access so much more than they ever could previously. And we're so delighted with the impact it's having on teaching and learning. And we're really grateful.
So, is that, it's early days, it's only November, it was only November, but either what have you seen or what do you expect to be the impact on outcomes, on attendance, on retention of staff? Have staff taken it?
Well, it's interesting you should ask that question, because one member of staff said to me, I can't see myself ever working anywhere else because this resource is fantastic. And what you see is staff circulating the room because they've got the tech at their fingertips to be able to see all of the children's work. When they're modelling, they're live modelling in the classroom, and it's projected up onto their Apple TV for the students to follow. The ability of teachers to now give verbal feedback overlaid over the top of students' work through the platform has allowed that personalised feedback but rapid acceleration of progress through the curriculum, which has been, a real gain for us.
So if you were talking to secondary colleagues within the sector, within Greater Lincolnshire, who were considering joining a multi-academy trust, what would you say?
There's multiple answers to this question. What would I say? I would say it is invaluable to have different areas of expertise in the trust that you can draw upon for support if you need them. I would say this is a trust that doesn't just publish their values on their website. They live them, they breathe them every day, and you see that with interactions with colleagues. You see that in the way that pieces of work are carried out. There is a true desire to make sure that those values are lived every single day.
Thank you. There's much fear in the sector still about multi-academy trusts, and people fear the loss of autonomy were they to join them. Now, obviously, you can only talk about LAT, but in your experience of LAT, how has that felt?
I think there's balance. The things that need to be done, for example, your safeguarding policies, the prevent strategy, climate action plans, all of that top layer, incredibly important work is very often done centrally with us and for us, and then it's rolled out through trust level training to make sure that we have compliance, understanding, we practice all of the elements of each of those policies, and that takes away a huge layer for heads to then focus on running their schools the way that they want to run their schools. So in terms of autonomy, I have autonomy on my behaviour policy, I have autonomy on my teaching and learning policy, I have available leadership coaching and consultancy to make sure that the right decisions are made for the children in my building, because that's very different in primary and secondary and also across different settings. Yeah. William Lovell is a school that serves a very high number of SEND children. We have a very high number of children in receipt of pupil premium, and with that comes additional layers of responsibility and sometimes barriers. And it's not up to the LAT to fix those. It's up to the LAT to support, to guide, to coach. But I've never had a situation where I've been told I must put this policy in place or, I've got to develop this particular strategy. Actually, that's up to me as the head teacher to make those decisions, along with my senior leadership team and the middle leaders at William Lovell. And, it's about balance, and it's about mandating the things that need to be mandated in the right areas, like your safeguarding policy. But it's about that breadth of choice for everything else, and consultation and collaboration where we need it.
So far more collegiate than some people would imagine.
Absolutely, yes.
That's good.